Hello and welcome to the Misty Blue Days of Our Lives podcast. I'm your host, Misty Blue from MistyBlueDream.com, and I am here to talk about a little bit of everything. Thanks for tuning in. As a legal disclaimer, nothing said here on this podcast should be used in place of medical or professional advice, as the intent of the content is to share personal information, opinions, and thoughts. This is episode number 3. Today we're going to be with our special guest, Emily, and we're going to discuss PTSD, depression, grief, suicide awareness, a little bit of everything. So I also want to go ahead and start out by giving the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, which is 800-273-8255. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Again, that number is 1-800-273-8255. And now we'll go ahead and get started. Say hello.
Hello.
I think just a friendly reminder with the podcast, there'll probably be a cat that might knock the mic over, or I might drop some cuss words, or totally just like have a brain fog and forget what we're talking about, but it'll be fun.
Absolutely.
And also, these topics are near and dear to our hearts. They're very important to us, both of us, and we want to share because I know there's people out there that could hopefully benefit from this information. So we'll go ahead and let Emily introduce herself. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, hello. I'm Emily. I'm currently in school to be a sign language interpreter.
Which is awesome. And you talk about the other things you've done in school, because you've done other things too.
Yeah, I already have a bachelor's for technical theater and do sound work with bands. I used to go on some tours with them, and basically do a lot of sound work and stage work and behind the scenes lighting stuff, which is all so much fun. And that's how you get involved with a bunch of other organizations. Like I was involved with Invisible Children and To Write Love in Our Arms.
Nice.
Through touring and Warped Tour and all of that fun stuff.
Yeah, you have done some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Cool stuff.
All right. Tell me more about, besides your student life, like what are you passionate about?
Really passionate about suicide awareness, especially now.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of helping people.
Yeah. So you're just kind of starting to get into the groove of the cats are totally fighting right now.
Yep, they're doing it.
You're starting to kind of get in the groove of like finding, I feel like finding your purpose and like your mission, and I think that's awesome. It's been cool. I've known her for a long time. It's been cool seeing her like develop into this beautiful young woman who's finding her purpose in life, and despite, you know, the trauma that you've been through, the way I kind of like to think of it is like we're taking one for the team, you know?
Yeah.
So that way we can guide and lead other people through the dark.
Exactly. Yeah. And like I said before too, it's kind of renewing.
Yeah.
Because I had an old life where when I was a teenager, I had these plans and would go to college and then do sound stuff and become an interpreter. But after a trauma, you kind of have to step back and pause your whole life for a while.
Right. Yeah,
you have to think about everything.
Work through that. And I mean, a lot of people don't know how, and that's another thing too. Because I'm going to school now I'm going to be going to school for neuropsychology with a minor in health communication. So, man, now the cats are hissing. Okay, so one of my things is like they don't teach this shit in high school, you know, like talking to my daughter and stuff, because I'm always, you know, we want to buy a house and like my credit's been jacked, so I've been like spending the last few years fixing that because we want to buy a house this year, and we're getting there, which is cool. But you know, my kids are older, so explaining to them like what I'm doing and you know why we haven't bought a house yet and like the steps to do that, which is like fixing the credit. And so I kind of, you know, have explained to them how it works.
They don't go over that in economics.
Yeah. And they're just like, that's crazy. Like, why don't they teach this in school? And I'm like, oh, I know. Because, you know, I didn't ever realize like how important credit was. I was just like, you know what?
Yeah, me neither.
Destroying it, pissing all over, who cares? Like, and then one day it's like, oh shit.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's just like one thing. I mean, another thing that I feel like that should be taught to the younger generation is like how to solve a problem, how to work through problems, how to deal with stress, how to manage stress in your life.
And communication.
Yes.
Not just like verbal speaking, doing a report or something.
Just like general life skills.
Talking. Yeah.
And also like like when you're in an abusive relationship, like finding the signs. Like a lot of times it's like sometimes people, their first relationship, you start seeing the signs of abuse, but you don't know because like it's your first relationship. And it's passionate and you see this stuff in the movies. At least I did.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's like, you just think like, well, that's how it is in the movies. It's like that passion, and then you make up, because really what it is trauma bonding.
Yeah.
And you don't, always know that it might not be healthy, or the little signs to get out.
It's like you're expected to learn from your experiences instead of learn how healthy relationships are supposed to be and then get into them starting out.
But these experiences can sometimes totally break somebody and crumble their foundation, and it's so much healing to do, and not a lot of people have the tools or the capability to cope. And then I feel like in the long run, people, I know for my 20s, I was a hot mess. So I just didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, because it's just like, I wish I recognized that I had depression and that I needed to like care for this and do something about it.
Yeah.
And these are just all things I feel like are so important for kids. And so maybe one day we can somehow guest speak in these schools or something and talk to teens.
That'd be great. It's what I like about like little organizations that try and do that already, which I try to get into.
Yeah.
And because I was just talking recently about our generation and the younger ones now, because like our kids are gonna be cool as crap.
You can cuss.
They're gonna be so great and be able to actually function, or when there's something wrong, go to us and be like, how do I deal with this? And we go, well, in therapy last week I learned this new mechanism, so let's talk about this. But
maybe ours will, because we talk to them about stuff a lot and we have open communication. But
there's so many that
still are people that are in our age range who maybe haven't dealt with trauma, and maybe they don't understand.
It's not there yet. Like half of us know how to do it all, and half of us.
So if their kids go through something because their parents didn't teach them about certain things because they weren't aware of it, they might have a harder time. So really, it's you never know. I mean, for sure, it doesn't discriminate. And but so anyway, we're going to talk about PTSD and depression. So we'll start with that first, because that's something that you've been like officially diagnosed with, right?
Yeah.
Like how long have you been dealing with? To give us a little background of how long that's been going on, when you got diagnosed.
So Nate died in February 4th. And
explain to everyone who doesn't know Nate who he is.
Nathaniel was my boyfriend for 3 years, on and off. And then I went to college, so we were kind of long distance. But we still always had a very, very close relationship. Extremely close, and really healthy and good, and just everything kind of great that I've ever seen in a relationship. We both had depression, so we both dealt with that a lot. I always went to therapy. He was on and off in therapy, just because insurances too. He couldn't always go. Resources was a really big issue. And then in 2018, so last year, he had planned to commit suicide for like a month or two. And I saw everything, like all of his blog things and everything he was writing for after he was gone, because he left everything for me, and it was basically a month.
So and you weren't aware of this. This is something that he kind of was
because we weren't living
privately
together. Yeah, we weren't living together yet, but I would go over, we would spend weekends and stuff. So he had his own place, and for all of January, it was very push you away kind of feel. And we never had pushed each other away. So I was like, I don't know what's going on, but here I come. Like, I'm gonna just come over randomly. And then he would just say no, or be really standoffish and distant. So it's one of those things where sometimes you just need time. So like maybe you just need a week or two. Sometimes I do, and you like seclude yourself from the world and people, and you're like, I just need a refresh.
Oh yeah, so, I've done
yeah, so I went to a Ren fair with my friends, and during the week I was gone, because I went up and traveled with a bunch of my friends, is when he did.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, because that was February 4th. And then I heard about it and just stayed up with my best friend Danny, and was just like, I'm just gonna chill here for a while, because it was a shock initially.
Oh yeah.
Just of.
And how did you find out about it?
A friend of mine that we worked with messaged me and was like, hey, like, do you know what's happening? Like, what's going on? I was like, what do you mean? Because they wanted more information from me, thinking that I had all the information already.
Because you guys are close. And...
yeah, when in reality, I didn't know anything yet, because they called his parents.
Wow.
Which his parents, and they were never close, ever.
Yeah. Like,
him and his mom were really good, but, like, Rocky, his dad is a horrible human being, and he knew it. And he had a bunch of siblings, and they were never very targeted on their individual kids. It was always just very, you very kids, they're going to do whatever. So he blamed them a lot, and, like, his upbringing, too.
And so he shared a lot of this in that month of...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, I knew about his parents and everything, too. But they called them, and they didn't really... like, his mom knew me, and so, you know, she reached out to me and gave me the blog post and everything that he left. Because he left, like, a big Tumblr as, like, his note.
Yeah.
And there was, like, 14 different Tumblr
How did people discover that? Did he leave?
He left it for the police.
Wow.
And so he sent a timed, like, email to them.
Wow.
Because, should I say the method on here? Is there, like, a trigger warning?
I mean, this whole episode's a trigger warning.
That's very true. So, because he split his wrists and bled out. And, like, it was very graphic of telling me exactly how and time periods, and he talked to me, like, the whole time, too. And, like, you could see him just doing Tumblr posts. Yeah.
In the post?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And even in the post, and, like, just texting me randomly. And it was just very normal. Like, all of his messages were, like, because it was Super Bowl Sunday, and my friends were watching Super Bowl, and we were, like, doing crafts things. And he was like, how's crafting going? Like, let me see your skirt. Meanwhile, he was dying.
Wow.
And, like, I couldn't do, like, there was no sign of anything. It was crazy. It was very just like, I just want to hear about your day. It was so normal. And then he was gone.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, so how the hell do you get through that?
Through that. It was 2 months of sitting in bed and crying every day and not being a human at all.
Yeah.
And I went to Circles of Care for a little bit. Because eventually, when you stay in bed for 2 months straight, like, my mom was worrying, everyone was worrying, they didn't know what to do.
Right.
Because you don't know what to do when, like, what do you do when your daughter's boyfriend just committed suicide? Yeah. She had no idea, and I didn't really either.
Yeah, there's no handbook for that.
Right. And, like, so then I started eventually, like, going out and taking a walk, and kind of just, like, I went to the art fair in Melbourne, and saw everything, but as soon as, like, I would see a family or see people together, I would just start bawling just anywhere, constantly.
Yeah, because any little tiny thing, I feel like, would make you think of,
or any little thing that, like, we did together, or just little moments or anything, just triggered everything. So finally got into therapy by emailing every single person I could think of in Tourette Love on Her Arms, and, like, my old therapist, because I didn't have insurance at all. So I was like, I'm going through the same thing now, because he couldn't go to therapy for a while either.
My gosh.
I was like, cool, so I really need therapy, really badly.
Desperately.
And I can't pay for it. But Tourette Love on Her Arms set me up with a therapist that science felt hard for me. And because she realized we needed it. And once I eventually, it was 3 months of therapy, like intensive, twice-a-week therapy. And then I finally got a job.
So what kind of therapy method did they use? Like,
She started with cognitive, and then we went really heavy into methods of when I got into panic attacks and PTSD attacks, and how to get out of them instead of, like, sitting in them, which was, there was a halo method, which was just visualizing a halo kind of above your head and slowly going over your whole body. to start feeling everything physically on your body. So you get out of your head and get into more physical, okay, I can touch this. I feel my bracelet like jingling on my skin. This is how it feels on my skin, and very intensely describing physical things around you.
Yeah. Is that similar to grounding?
A lot of grounding techniques.
Explain a little bit what grounding is for someone who doesn't know.
Grounding is when you disassociate very hard, like very hard. You just get into your head. You don't think about anything that's around. And so you pick something physical, something you can see that will help you attach kind of back to the world and back to where you are and what you're doing now and in the present, which is really important.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, that's why they say, like, people, like, black out, you know, kind of, because it's like you just totally, it's like
I would use days. Like, even the 2 months, to me, felt like a week.
Oh, I bet.
It's, like, completely disassociated with anything. And so whenever I would see myself doing it, or you would just sit there and, like, I'd look at the clock and be like 2 hours later, I was like, oh, no. And so I'd pick a thing, like a lamp, and describe that lamp a lot. And like the floor tiles, just every single thing. I can describe things so great now. There's a lot of grounding techniques. It was.
So did you guys talk about grief? And, you know, what kind of tips and advice did, you know?
Yeah, because there's the general stages of grief, which is still a legit thing. Yeah. Except for...
Yeah, I talk about that a lot. The Kubler-Ross, which is the Swedish psychiatrist, that she wrote a book on it and kind of pioneered that whole theory, which people still use today.
Yeah. And the big thing with, like, the circles of grief is that when I learned them, because, like, I've heard of them before.
Right.
You always hear these things.
Bargaining, denial.
Yeah, and they go on, like, a cycle.
Acceptance.
That cycle is not true.
Yeah.
It is not a cycle. You cannot pick which stages you're going through, and you don't get to the next one. It's everywhere.
Yeah, actually, I have a blog post on it, the stages of grief with chronic illness, and it pretty much is, you know, very similar. I go through all of those, but I basically say how, like, you know, even when you get to acceptance, you don't stay there. You don't live in acceptance. That's not... Yeah. You know, you might end up back in anger like next week and be angry and pissed off, and then you might go, you know, bargaining, and maybe you'll feel acceptance again, and then back to, you know, it's a squiggly line.
It's so squiggly. There was like this little meme thing that had the stages, and then it just went like this. It's crazy, because it's what happens. And every time I would come in to therapy, it was, what stage do you think you're in right now? And I would say, you know, I'm okay. Like, I call myself coasting.
Yeah.
Like today is very, like, coasting. Like, it's a good day. I'm making sure, like, I feel all the things I'm feeling, but it's not here or there. Right. It's like coasting along, but it's not a bad coasting thing.
It's kind of good to, I feel like, be aware of what stage you're in. Once I kind of connected, like, for me anyway, with like chronic illness, as an example, when I connected the dots that, like, okay, I'm going through these stages, and when I realized that, it made so much more sense to me, and I felt like I had a lot more control, even though I'm not controlling, more just, I guess, acceptance. So, like, you know what, I'm just angry today, and that's okay, because that's normal, and I'm in that stage, and I'm not gonna always be angry.
Yeah, like, a lot of the grief too was, you know, I was pissed at him.
Yeah.
But I've never been angry at Nate in my life.
Yeah.
Like, we have never had an actual real fight. Like, we've had them, but we've always worked them out so easily. So, like, I've never been angry at him for a long time. And I was like, I'm just so pissed.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you. How dare you? But I'm not an angry person. So it was really hard for me to feel that anger and let it out somehow. Because I'm like, I shouldn't be angry at him. Because I just shouldn't be, and, like, I would say all these things. And
I feel like knowing, like, you know what, this is a stage that I'm going through.
Yeah, to be angry.
Healing process. And I, you know, knowing that, like, okay, I don't necessarily mean this. I'm just, this is how I feel.
I was like, I feel like I gotta break something. And my therapist was like, so break something. I was like, what are you talking about? I can't break anything. She's like, no, really. You know, there's a dollar store with plates.
You know, I love that, because because I have the Invisible Diaries podcast too, which is on invisible illnesses and stuff. And we literally just today put out the Toxic Positivity podcast.
Yeah, I was watching that.
And all good. And the whole toxic positivity is like so important to me because I feel like people want you to focus on one, you know, type of emotions, which is like, you know, the positive ones, like being happy and grateful and all of those things, which is wonderful and dandy and all. But at the same time, like it's healthy to feel, you know, angry and sad and nervous and all of those things. And people try to, you know, it's like they expect you to put on a mask and just be a certain way. And so when you apply that to grief and depression, you know, I think that's something that people don't realize, like that it's healthy. So here we have a therapist who's, you know, licensed professional, who's educated, who's telling the patient, like, go fucking break something.
Yeah.
Because that's normal and you're upset.
She told me how. She was like, this alley is perfect. Get a tarp, go break it on, and you can put it on. Like, it was really Dexter style, honestly.
Oh my God.
But it was fantastic.
Well, you know, in a healthy, legal way.
Yes, of course.
Nobody was harmed.
It was like, no, there was no harm.
But it's true
Just
because it's like, you know, sometimes you need an outlet and you need to feel that. And, you know, I've had trauma in my life as well. And seeing my therapist, one of the things she says she likes to use for some of her patients is like writing a letter and then burning it. Yeah. You know, because you can't give it to that person, but maybe it's like, it's a way to kind of have that closure. And I mean, there's all kinds of different tools you can try.
Like even recently for, it was Nate's birthday in May. And like, you know, you don't really know, I don't know what to do with it. And like, my therapist said the same thing. You're going to remember 3 dates: your anniversary, the day he died, and his birthday. And those 3 dates are, every single time they come up, are going to be some kind of trigger, stressful. You're going to think about them all of those 3 dates. Nothing else is going to matter. And she was right. So for his birthday, especially this year, lit like little lantern things, put them up, but I wrote kind of like a poem thing to him. And I didn't know what to do with it, because what do you do with it? Like, I wrote this thing for you and I can't give it to you. Right. So it's kind of like the burning the letter thing, but I also did post it on my social media. Yeah. Because sometimes I'm like, and it's like a stigma too, because a lot of people that I've seen in like my solos group, which is survivors of loved ones that died from suicide, is they can't post anything because they feel like people don't want to hear about it anymore, or like, you know, it's been this long. Why are you still harping on this? You know, move on. Like those things that I'm like, everyone that knows me knows not to do those things because I will blow up with them. But no, I just posted it on social media, and you feel like this little relief of
because it's going somewhere,
there,
even if it's just in a cloud. Yeah.
And even just getting the support from my friends of seeing it and going, that's beautiful. Like, he would have loved that. Like, thank you for sharing it. Like, all those little things of. Yeah,
it's a way to memorialize somebody.
Yeah.
And you know, let's face it, like, humans are very ritualistic. I don't care what culture you are. Like, every culture, I feel like, has rituals and ceremonies, and that's how we deal with. That's how we live life. I mean, think about marriage and death. You know, you have funerals and celebrations of birth and life, and you know, we do have these ceremonial, ritualistic tendencies that we do, and so I feel like that's just a totally natural, healthy way to memorialize someone. You know, even if you're just lighting a candle that day or whatever. It's definitely something that I feel like is a healthy thing to do. I mean, what would you say, like, these first couple of dates and anniversaries or birthday versus like the recent ones? Because I know it's been a few years. The difference between how you handled.
Yeah. So for his first birthday, because it was February, March, April, May, and May was his first birthday. After that, and that was. I spent like 2 months thinking of what to do for his birthday because I had no idea what to do or how I would feel that day or what was going to happen. So with my best friend, I made like 5-10 lists of just everything. Because, like, I slightly am OCD, so I just wrote out every single thing that could go wrong.
I love lists.
I love this so much, like, so much. But we wrote everything down, and I was like, I don't care who comes, but we're gonna have a birthday party.
Yeah.
And I went to one of the little parks, and we just, like, did a bunch of incense and, like, kind of did, you know, sage and everything, and wrote stuff to him, put them on candle things, sent them up, like, been by the water, because for me and him, it's always been very water and beach, because, like, we would go in the middle of the night or after work together and go to the ocean, or go to the pier, or, like, somewhere where there was water. There was always water, and that was also a big thing too, because he also made a playlist of songs, because music was really big for us too. So it was always about water and doing those kind of things. I lost track of where my question left.
No, I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
So, like, with music, okay, so this is probably just a random question, but I feel like, you know, when you hear a song that reminds you of, you know, someone that you lost, and there's, like, sometimes you can either just, like, your heart breaks and just break down crying. What is, like, a way to try to move from that point to being more like, okay, maybe more like open, like warm-hearted, like, you know, it's memorializing versus
there's definitely a process,
you know
with
what I
it.
mean?
So the playlist he sent me for he called Ending of a Sentence, there was our songs on it. So after that, listening to those, at first I played it constantly, and I was listening to it too much. And it gave it a feeling of when I'm in bed for 2 months. Like, whenever I heard them, it, like, hurt me. But now, you know, you stop listening to it for a little bit, or you put something away. And that's, like, the main thing I could say, is to put them away for a little while. Like, if you hear them sometimes, it's still going to trigger you, and it's still going to hurt. And every time I would hear the random song on, like, a radio, or if I was in a store or something, I'd have to go outside and just breathe and do, like, a breathing technique.
That's what I'm wondering, is how do you get through to a healthier point in your life, to where when you hear that song, you can be more, like, you know, of a heart happy, like, not happy, but you know what I mean, more just like a fond memory type of, versus
it's redirecting it. It's because a lot of those songs I played on the way up, because the bridge, like, going over a bridge to me is just a suicide trigger for myself, because the thought is always, like, just drive off, super easy, and that's always, like, that's part of my suicidal ideation. So my therapist was like, all right, play your songs that make me really sad, and, like, I would always get panic attacks too while walking up a bridge, and my best friend got, like, little blower things and bubbles, and, like, we walked up the bridge and, like, did, like, confetti stuff on top of it, and got chalk and wrote, like, Nate's name and, like, you know, the hotline, and, like, wrote all these positive things and redirected how those songs felt, and how driving over that bridge felt, or being on that bridge felt, with this crazy positive memory of doing
it sounds like a 90s
stuff
like,
on exactly it is. It was 100% like a 90s video. But
so it's like you're kind of I like that. That's a great idea.
So whenever I think of something like that now, like the song Waves by Dean Lewis was his, like, that song, and when I think of it, when I heard it before on, like, a show or something, I had to turn it off, but now I have that, like, melancholy or bittersweet feel to it, where like, I know how much this hurt before, but now that I've used it in other like, ways of living and ways of helping people, or saying, hey, listen to this song, or this lyric is really important, and working through something, it just changed that feel. So I can actually live with it.
So tell me a little bit more about that group. What was it called again?
The Solos? Solos, survivors of loved ones that, I forgot what the acronym means. It's called SOLAS.
Survivors of loved ones
that committed suicide.
Mm-hmm.
It's very specific of
now,
if your partner did.
Something in person or is this online?
It's a Facebook group.
Okay.
They have a few of them, but one is sponsored with the American Suicide Foundation, and they have admins that are all either have been through it for a really long time and gone through therapy or class or something like that.
Yeah, and that's a great thing too. Like if you are going through this and you get to a point where you've learned healthy tools, I feel like another great way of healing is to be able to help somebody else.
Yeah, and like not everyone is like that,
right?
And I always wanted to, like, because on the group too, a lot of people were like, I feel so bad that I can't help people. Yeah. It's been 5 years, 6 years since my significant other died, and I just can't be the one to help somebody, and that's also okay.
Yeah, they probably don't even realize. I'm sure they're helping.
Yeah, there always are, because they've helped me randomly by just giving me a comment or something. Yeah. But and then there are some people like me that is like, I can help people. Like, I need to help people. They told me to help people. Yeah. So I'm gonna do that too.
About that. The things he told you.
Yeah. It was in his note too, and it was he said hypocrisy is gonna be his legacy, because he was like, don't let anyone do this. That he was just too tired, and he felt like this was this for him, but for me it wasn't. For his friends it wasn't. And to help people, he's like, just help them, get them tools, do all the things that I know you would have wanted me to do and that I should have done, but hypocrisy is my legacy, but do these things. I was like, thanks for giving me a laundry list for my life now.
Man, I just can't imagine. I know when you told me, like, back when all this happened, it's just like, I feel like, even still now, it's just like, what the hell do I say? So what would you recommend, friends and loved ones for you, or who have someone who's going through this, like how they can be supportive?
Yeah, because that's a difficult one too.
Yeah.
Because no one knows how to.
Because like I said, I like, even still now, it's just like, what do I say to that?
Yeah,
because it's exactly. There's the only thing I can think of in my head, that I'm not saying out loud. It's just like it's so just, it's a tragedy. You know what I mean? And it's like I just don't even know the words.
Yeah, and that's really it too. Like, I don't even know the words. Whenever Amanda would come up to me and be like, "Hey, you okay? What are we doing?" And it was very much actions. A lot of actions of like, so if I was breaking down or felt something, it's never anything that needed to be said. It was more the one thing that would actually be not beneficial that everyone would constantly always do is you get that look of pity. Yeah. Whenever you tell someone and they like, their heart breaks for you and you could see it and you understand because your heart broke too. Yeah. And so you're in that similar boat of feeling it, but you're like, but I'm okay. Like, I'm here.
Yeah, that's hard when you're getting that look. I know what I mean, because
it's like the constant pity look.
That's not what you're wanting. You're wanting, you don't want. It's just hard because I feel like that's another reason why people are quiet about how they feel, because they don't want other people to have to make someone else feel that way,
uncomfortable. Yeah. And I feel like the uncomfortable is a stigma that's been put on everything, because it's uncomfortable talking about death or something that personal, but like when you're with
it needs to happen because it happens.
Yeah,
it's a part of life. I mean, people lose their loved ones and people go through these things, and like I said, because there is no handbook, people don't know what to do. Yeah. So even just, I feel like just being there and listening and letting people cry or even just showing up.
Yeah, it's either what do you need right now, like physically, do you need something, or do I need to just sit here and grab an animal? Yeah. Like which option do we need to do? Something to go out? Do you need to just leave? Yeah. Like those like presenting physical options of leaving somewhere and giving me something, showing up with literally a flower you just picked from a garden.
I think the showing up and just taking the initiative on your own is the best, because I know for me personally, when I'm going through something, I have the worst ability to, I don't have the ability to ask for help or ask for something. So like when I've been in the hospital or something, when someone's like, hey, do you need anything? My answer is always no.
Yep.
And maybe I'm starving. I could be starving, haven't eaten all day, or like I really need like face wipes or underwear or whatever. Yep. And I just will be like, oh, no. Because it's just like, again, it's like I know I'm not a burden, but it's like I have that deep down inner mentality that like
many of my friends have it too.
Everybody does.
Everyone has it. So I've just started going, okay, well, I'm doing one of these two things, so pick one.
Yeah. So doing something like that, offering something, or options, or just showing up, I feel like is the best thing, because people are just gonna say no or they're fine. So if you just show up with, some magazines and flowers, or or even just show up with the shoulder.
Yeah, that's really
one of these things,
exactly. Like if you just show up, that's it. That's fine. Because then, if they need something, then you can go get it. Or you can be like, we can go get it together.
Right.
Do you want me to go with you? That was a lot of it too. Because I wouldn't leave my bed. I wouldn't leave the house. And even when I moved in and finally got my own apartment, because that was a huge step.
Oh yeah.
That was like end goal for me in the first year with therapy, was move out of my parents and start my life again. Yeah. That was like the scariest thing in the world. I look back now and I thought a year and a half ago, there's no way. Like, I don't even know who I was going to be. Wow. Like that, at that point, after like 3 or 4 months of doing therapy, I'm like, I still don't know who I'm going to be in a year.
Yeah, well, you've made so much progress. Like, I remember when you were like about to start working again, and you were like scared, and I mean, and now look at you, like you're, doing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, right? I have so many jobs and working so hard to make a lot of dreams with me, my friend opening a store, and just being an interpreter, and those dreams need to happen. Yeah. Because I want to live my life while I can, and while I have it. And even then, I want to live it harder for him. Yeah. Andrea Gibson did a poem called The Way You Left. I think I would need to look up the name. But that poem that she did is 100% exactly how I felt as a survivor. And she wrote it for her best friend whose husband died by suicide too. And it was so perfect.
And what was her name?
Andrea Gibson. Yeah.
So I'm gonna pull it up to see if I can read it. But while I'm doing that, what would you say? Why would you say suicide awareness is so important?
Because so many people feel it and won't say it. Like, so many people that are just happy, pretend they're happy, or don't even know if they have depression, like, feel it. So many people have been like, well, if I just not existed today, or there's a lot of jokes about it too. Yeah, which I used to do too. Like, there are so many times where I was like, or we'll just kill ourselves. Like, that has been such a joke. Like, more in my generation, I think, than anything. Yeah. Is just like that.
I notice a lot too in the, like, even just like comedians in their community, I'll hear, I always would joke with my husband, like, how many comedians are gonna do a suicide joke? And it was like almost like all of them do it.
That's what, like, they do it all the time.
Right.
And, it's not something I ever not, or angry about if someone does. Because I still make them sometimes. Yeah. Because it's just like, you don't even almost a habit. Yeah, it's one of those natural things.
Like, kill me, I gotta do the cat box today.
Yeah, exactly. But it's so easy to do.
I feel like, with suicide awareness.
That one, the day you died because you wanted to.
I feel like with suicide awareness, it's important too, because, I mean, just think of like Robin Williams, like, he was.
Or even like, so I worked for Kate Spade.
Oh, wow.
Me and Nate both worked for Kate Spade. Because we were their call center, basically.
Yeah, I remember that.
And, like, I have all of her stuff, like, from the little raffles and things that they used to give away for us. And to hear, like, I think it was a month after Nate died that she committed suicide. I was
Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah.
I love him so much.
And no one ever really thought about it. And they could also, like, Robin Williams went to therapy too.
Yeah.
But, like, part of it's, you're busy. They don't think that they need to go get help.
Right.
Because it doesn't feel like anything's wrong. Because you're not shown something feels wrong. Mm-hmm. This is what's wrong. And it's not your fault.
And the thing is people don't, again, because of the stigma, and again, why I'm so passionate about toxic positivity is because people are afraid to talk about it.
Yeah, or just smile through it. It'll be different tomorrow.
Suck
just
it
keep
up.
Going. Yeah.
Everything's all right.
And eventually it's not.
But yeah, and then people, I feel like people are almost like ashamed of feeling these emotions because it's like, we're not supposed to. We're supposed to be positive. We're supposed to be happy and smile.
Yep.
And that I feel like is kind of another reason why, I mean, the topic's, it's a hard topic.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people
There's so many
about
factors in it. Mm-hmm. And like how people feel with it. Because like Nate's was very strategic. It was definitely planned out, had everything in line, everything sorted for it, knew that was the end goal. There are some people in my group that it was very spontaneous. It was like, okay, I can't do it, I'm done. And then they got that initial adrenaline to do it, whether it was like shooting or something really fast, or like, it's very random. They could either be really planned out or spontaneous and just right then and there. And you don't get a why or figure out like what.
Yeah, not everybody gets.
And that's the biggest thing for me. They don't get what happened or why did you do this. Nate spelled it all out. This is exactly why.
Which not
this
a lot
is what
of people
happened.
Do that.
Yeah, it's such a different grief aspect too. Yeah. Between not knowing why, so you're sitting there wondering for like the rest of your life trying to figure it out, and then knowing why. Mm-hmm. So I didn't get a choice. I didn't get to question, if I did something wrong or if I could have prevented it or done anything, because he said I couldn't. Mm-hmm. So he took away, like, I feel like he took away that choice from me to be able to be angry too about how I didn't know what was going on, or I could have fixed it, or I could have saved him, because I couldn't.
Right. And I feel like a lot of people that are in his position, I don't think they realize how much, like, they have such a deep pain and hurt inside of them, but I don't think they realize all they're doing is taking that and spreading it to everybody else.
Or the saying of, like, when someone commits suicide, it's just passing your pain to somebody else.
Right.
It
really is.
And it is. Like, at 100%, especially with everything he gave me, felt like he went, I can't hold it anymore. I'm too tired. So here.
Yeah.
And it 100% feels like I will hold the burden for me and you.
And I feel like people don't realize that. And that's like something too that I like to get the point across, is because, I know there's been times in my life where I felt like, okay, people would just be better off if it wasn't their life. Like it'll
pass. Like, people won't think about it too much. It'll all pass.
But it's like, I know now, like, at the end of the day, like, I mean, my family would have been devastated. Mm-hmm. So, it's something that, like, it's such a horrible thing. And I just wish there was a way to, like, have
exactly
somehow
just, like, shake
help everybody. So I don't know. I mean, what are some things that you could offer, as far as advice or something to say to somebody who, like, him, who's going through that and maybe having those thoughts?
That it's not even about not being a burden or knowing you're enough, because partially you're not going to believe it. Right. It's about getting the drive. Because if you feel like you have the drive enough to end everything, then you have the drive enough to keep going.
Yeah, I like that. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, instead of picking up a gun, you Google, which is way easier.
or call the National
Suicide Hotline.
Prevention Hotline, which is 1-800-273-8255.
Exactly. Because that's all you have to do.
I mean, that's one way to start. And
start it.
There's other organizations too. Or even, okay, so here's an example too. Like, I have a lot of heavy shit that I've been through in my life. A lot of my writing back in the day was so dark that I was so proud of it, but I'd share it with people, and it was very Sylvia Plath style, and people, their response wasn't like, oh my God, that's beautifully written, or you're so talented. It was, are you okay?
Yeah.
And so I thought,
same.
wow, so my stuff's like too dark to share with people.
Yeah.
Or to share with people. I can't even remember where I'm going with this.
Right? But like, I did it too. And then my mom realized it.
Yeah.
And looked at it. And of course, like, she had all of like your friends and everything. And so she was like, is this too dark? Is this something that you should be sharing? And then, she shoved me into poetry nights, and she's like, maybe we should listen to other people's poetry.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something I'm missing here.
I mean, for me, it was a great outlet. I can't remember what my point was. I was totally going somewhere though with that. But I totally lost it. That's what I
did earlier. I was like, I went somewhere with something, and then I just lost it completely.
Brain fog moment. But we were talking about just knowing, for people, just realizing that they are enough.
Yeah.
Even if you don't think that you have anyone to talk to, we're talking about having, the drive. If you can dedicate that much time into thinking those thoughts, or
throw it into, because it's also like a hobby. So if you're so driven on the fact of, you think you need to end everything, and you're about to, and you have that feel to direct it towards another thing, like writing it all down, no matter how dark or whatever you're doing, write. After everything with Nate, obviously my suicidal ideation and everything picked up hardcore, I picked up a ukulele.
Yeah.
And literally whenever I felt like I wanted to die, or like this was enough, or I just had too much, I would pick it up.
Yeah.
Because it was something I didn't have to leave the house for. I didn't have to go too far. I could just pick it up and actually just start strumming it. So it was an easy thing for me to direct to.
Yeah, having hobbies, I think, are so important for mental health just in general, because you're being creative, you're doing something, you're being productive, no matter what it is. I mean, I don't care if you want to build doll houses or collect, popsicle sticks. Like, it's something, and, it's a start for something somewhere, and it can build into whatever. I know, like, for me, something that helped me a lot was volunteering at the Brevard Humane Society, because, like, I love animals, and I'd walk them, so I was getting a little bit of exercise, I was volunteering. Having, like, something that you're volunteering or giving back to, I feel like it gives people a sense of purpose and responsibility. Having pets, of course, it gives you, like, this loving, this sense of love, and it's like something that, without too much responsibility, like, if sometimes a relationship can be a little too much, but having a pet, it's more simple. I mean, the pet needs you.
Exactly.
You feed the pet, you have a responsibility, you love them, it's an easy love.
Yeah.
Unless they're chewing up all your stuff.
Yeah, right.
But,
and it's hard, because, like, that's not always going to solve it.
Of course.
Because, I mean, Nate had those things too.
Well, therapy, is...
That's the jump for me.
Yeah.
Is therapy. Literally, when anyone asks me any advice, I will constantly give them advice and be there for them no matter what. But my ending is, so there's a therapist.
That's where I was going with my thing.
Yeah, so therapy.
Therapy.
Yeah. There's here.
Yes, okay, so that's where I was going, I think.
I had a good place to go.
Okay, this is what it was. I was saying how the things I wrote, the things I had were so deep, right? And heavy, these topics and this stuff that I had to get out. Well, when I would vent to certain friends, a lot of my friends, it was too much. And I feel like that's also too, when some people
you respect your friends' boundaries.
Yeah,
what they can hear.
The people who think like, okay, this person's so negative or whatever. I mean, it was a lot. I get it. So when you hear someone, they're constantly like complaining about negative things, and you're that person, because I've been that person. I think when I realized like that the conversations weren't healthy, because they weren't really the right person to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to get this resentment towards friends because I felt like, okay, I can't talk to these people about these important things in my life. And so I think that was when I got to the point where I realized, like, okay, I need to talk to a professional because I don't want to, like, burn these bridges. I don't want to get rid of my friends. I don't want to resent my friends. They're great, but they're just not capable of this deep, heavy shit that I need to get off my chest. And there's literally people out there whose jobs and careers are to listen to this heavy shit, help you sort through it and build the tools. So that's where I was getting, was that, like, that was one of the best things I did for me too, was to start seeing a therapist, because I was able to talk to this and she listened. And she gave me, you know, tools to deal with things. My friends, I could talk to them about stupid shit, like what I had for lunch or whatever. And it was, you know, I was able to maintain these friendships and relationships without giving them this heavy burden that they just truly didn't know, you know, because that was something, like, that I had a hard time realizing, is that, like, just because, like, I'm going through this and it's heavy and I've dealt with this trauma or whatever, like, I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that, like, this person couldn't understand, you know what I mean? And it made me feel alone. And so, you know, at the end of the day, you're just not talking to the right person. And the right person really is going to be a professional.
Especially for all my grief. So when it first happened, a friend of mine's grandfather died. Like, almost, like, very close to it, and I felt nothing. I couldn't even empathize with them. And, like, my grandparents have died before Nate, and, like, I know that feeling of, like, losing a family member or a loved one, and I just couldn't. There was a blockage, and I just couldn't feel anything about it. And my friends couldn't help me with that. They were like, you don't feel things? I don't know what to do with that. I was like, you know who does? My therapist. And she helped me get back to it. Because, like, after the tragedy,
You just shut down.
I shut down. I had no filter. I was really bitchy, and I knew it. Because I was like, I can't not. I just have to say everything that I'm thinking, or else, I don't know, I'll blow up. And therapist. That was one of the things that they're meant for that. They're like, I know how to do this.
And everyone should really have a therapist too at the end of the day, just to kind of work through, even if it's just, like, the stress of everyday life, or your work is stressful.
Like, even if you didn't go through a tragedy and you don't think that there's a real need to go to therapy, go once a month. Just for, it's like a doctor checkup, honestly.
And it never hurts to, like, have, you know, additional tools. Like, I just did a podcast recently, and we were talking about therapy, and she was saying, like, that with what she's going through and stuff, she had, you know, her boyfriend come, and, you know, they had a healthy, good relationship, but it was helpful for him to just kind of understand and like, know how to understand what she's going through. So I thought that was, like, a really cool thing. My husband just got home. Hi. Well, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up, because that means we've been doing this for almost an hour.
Awesome.
But I think, you know, we covered a lot, and I'll share your, like, Instagram too, in case anyone wants to, like, reach out to you.
Definitely.
If that's cool. You know, because sometimes it, even just, like, messaging a complete stranger.
I've done it so many times. Even my solos group, everything, you just message a stranger like, hey, you kind of know what I'm going through. You've done this before. What's up? And I will answer you always.
And so if you can't get into see a therapist because you don't have the resources, and then try, you know, like, To Write Love on Our Arms or other programs like that. You know, see if there's any type of assistance anywhere. I know for, like, Florida, you can call 211. And sometimes they have resources.
And there's always a place. If you don't think you can find therapy, there's always a place that has a cheap or affordable or sliding scale. You can find it. It takes a little bit of effort, but that's why you reach out to people that kind of know what to do. And while you're trying to do that, there's always at least trying to find, like, an online support group. And they can maybe even guide you, but that's a good way to start too, because then you know. That's how I started. I found the solos group before I started therapy. Oh wow. And they helped me get the courage to go to therapy. Because they were all like, we're all we're all in it.
Yeah.
We all got therapy, every single one of us.
Yeah, so finding people that are, get it and understand it. Again, these could be total strangers, but like there's people that you can talk to that like maybe your friends that you're having lunch with, that you've been buddies with and go to movies with isn't going to be able to be the person to talk to you about. So,
and I mean, still talk to your friends about it too, because sometimes they give you the extra push of like, I need help looking up this place. Okay, I have my phone out. I'll just Google it for you.
Yeah, and that
like
might
that's
be a way
the
where they
easiest
can
thing. Yeah, it's
feel
not,
like they're helping and contributing.
Exactly. It's not like the emotional help, but it's like you physically need a ride to this place. Sure, tell me when. Like that kind of thing.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right. So again, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 1-800-273-8255, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. My blog is mistibluedream.com, which is MISTIBLUDREAM.com. And this is Emily. And thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.